Armstrong and Getty Show. She beats 22 other candidates in the open primary for the right to run against Dianne Feinstein for the U.S. Senate. She graduated from UCLA with dual degrees in economics and political science. Wow. And completed Middle East and China studies at Cambridge. Wow.
At Cambridge. Did you say Cambridge?
I said Cambridge.
Thank you.
She worked as an efficiency and cost-cutting expert for IBM before her son was diagnosed with severe autism. She then became a tireless advocate for children with disabilities, eventually rising to Vice President of Government Relations for Autism Speaks.
She is running against Dianne Feinstein. Elizabeth Emken joins us. Hi, Elizabeth.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Having read a brief synopsis of your resume, it is utterly clear that you are, unless, you reveal yourself as a psychopath in the next 10 minutes or something.
Kleptomaniac?
That would hurt her chances, too. That you are eminently qualified and an impressive person to run for the United States Senate, and yet you can get virtually no press coverage in the great state of California. That's got to be frustrating to you.
Well, I finally am on Armstrong and Getty. That's been one of my big goals. But I've been doing talk radio every single day. Matter of fact, we just realized I've done more media than Meg and Carly combined. So we're out there. We're moving it around. But without a doubt, this is a grassroots campaign, and it's a lot of being out there with the folks. We've got to get back to that because, let me tell you, they're hungry to actually see their leaders and have them really understand what their families are going through. You've got someone like Dianne Feinstein. She doesn't do town halls. She doesn't go out there and see the folks. And I've been to places that Dianne Feinstein's never made it in 20 years.
Yeah. Well, and she's 80 years old. Look, nobody has more respect for America's senior citizens than I do. But she's 80, for God's sake. I mean, come on now. All right, you don't even join in.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, there is.
No, it beats the alternative, but I'm not sure she should serve another 6 years in the United States Senate.
That's exactly my point. My point is I just wish her a happy retirement. I just want her to enjoy her golden years. And we have to get some fresh energy and a new perspective in the U.S. Senate. Let's be honest. We've got some folks back there who just are retired in place. And we have big problems to solve, and I have specific ideas about what to do to bring down our debt, to get our economy growing again. And Dianne Feinstein has literally done nothing in the last 6 years. It's why she won't debate me. She has nothing to talk about.
I was just going to say, bring that up forcefully in the debate, except she won't do one.
Exactly. She's the only sitting U.S. senator who will not debate their rival. Kristen Gillibrand and Wendy Long in New York did a debate last night. And frankly, they're further apart in the polls than we are. Dianne Feinstein is under 50%. She really is taking a chance here with a lot of really arrogance in not being willing to get out there and discuss the issues. And her campaign has no answer for this.
You've mentioned some of them, but what are some of the other impediments to trying to run against an institution like Dianne Feinstein?
Well, some of it, of course, is California. There was so much money spent in 2010 that I think there's a misperception that the state is a lost cause for just actually a lost cause. When your state is this the object of ridicule on every late night comedy program,
well deserved, by the way. But
yes, well, then a lot of I think a lot of people have given up on California. It's really going to be up to us to turn our state around. And Dianne Feinstein is riding on her name recognition. And again, Dianne Feinstein has nearly 100% name ID, but people conflate being popular with being well-known. Dianne Feinstein is no longer popular. She's well-known. She's now under 50%. She's polling at 48%. My challenge is to get my name out there, and now that I've been on Armstrong and Getty, it's a done deal.
Yeah, that certainly helps. And I definitely want to talk about some of the issues because we would be, we'd be creeps if we didn't get to some of the issues. But, have you been on... does NBC in San Francisco or Los Angeles, do they sit down and talk to you?
I've been on, I'm trying to think which affiliate. I think it was the CBS affiliate in San Francisco, the ABC affiliate in San Francisco. So actually, yes, local California news. I just did a 30-minute segment with KUSI in San Diego. I'm actually getting a lot of California media. I would say the national media has been a little bit tougher nut to crack. But
newspaper editorial boards,
yes,
they have been, and they've been fair.
Yes, they've actually. When you have the LA Times saying that nothing screams entrenched incumbent like a long-term senator, 42-year career politician who won't debate their rival, and look, the San Francisco Chronicle, shockingly, endorsed, Dianne Feinstein again, but they spent half of that editorial column really calling her out for not debating.
Right.
In my view, there's two different things that should be immediate disqualifiers from Dianne Feinstein for another 6 years in office. The first one is
She's dyeing her hair jet black, clearly. My word's not yours.
Jack's a one-issue voter.
But go on.
The fact that she has been unable to produce a budget in 4 years in the U.S. Senate, disqualifier. The fact that she won't talk about her record of the last 6 years, much less what her plans are for the next 6, disqualifier. And it's up to us to call her out on it. It's up to the voters to say, you know what? We have elections here. We don't have coronations. And there's only 2 boxes. There's Dianne Feinstein and Elizabeth Emken. And I hope that the people of California will send somebody back who has a record of problem solving to actually work on behalf of California and not just occupy a corner table in the Senate dining room.
Key issue when you get to the U.S. Senate. What are you most enthusiastic about getting right to work on?
I think there's going to be an immediate repeal of Obamacare. Look, I have a severely disabled 20-year-old, and Obamacare is bad for him. It's bad for all the disabled. It's bad for everyone. It needs to be repealed. I believe there will be a replacement at some point. But first, we have to do tax reform. The Mount Everest of legislative projects is tax reform. And I believe there will be tax reform in the U.S. Senate in 2013. I want to be at that table. I have very strong ideas about how to get our healthcare system back on track. It begins with the federal tax code. And we also have got to lower the corporate tax rate, the personal rates. And believe me, I have no special interest backing me, so I'll be closing those loopholes and taking care of those credits that are giving us this bifurcated tax code.
Mm-hmm. Dual degrees in economics and political science seems like you're certainly qualified to get into that conversation.
Well, I don't know. The Feinstein campaign says that I'm the least qualified candidate that's ever run against her.
Oh, please.
When she got her education, our economics was trading wampum from beaver pelts. For crying out loud.
Well, here's what I like to say. If her qualifications are driving up our debt by $7 trillion in the last 6 years alone, and again, no budget, really think about it. What is Dianne Feinstein's record of accomplishment? I mean, we look back, go back 30 years if you want, but even in the last 6 years, what has she done? She's got titles. She's got some really good titles, but what has she actually done? What's her record of accomplishment?
Well, you get those titles through time.
Yeah, longevity.
And as we've observed, she could have been drafted in WW2 if they were drafting gals back then. So with all due love and respect,
she's Rosie the Riveter. For crying out loud.
I agree with you. And I actually, thank you for your service. Let's get some new energy and a fresh perspective in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. Nothing says entrenched incumbent like, 42 years in office?
Almost half a century.
And refusing to debate your opponent.
Yeah, that not debating is have you thought of doing one of those stunts where you have a debate in an empty chair? And
we actually were doing the empty chair before Clint Eastwood. Yes, we do empty chair updates every single day, and we've got something exciting coming out featuring an empty chair. But still, it's not too late, Senator, to do the right thing and step up. I'm happy to show up. I'm sure she'll want to do it in, Turlock at 2 a.m., but that's okay. I'll be there.
Is she 80?
She's going to turn 80, I think, early next year.
So a 6-year term should be 86.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're talking Robert Byrd territory now.
We really
We're getting into old Strom Thurmond zones.
So is there national money that gets spent against you since she is, the chair of the, what is it, which committee is she? For Intelligence.
Senate Intelligence. How's that working for you here in California?
But so when you get to powerful positions and stuff like that, so then is national money coming against you?
Oh, no, not at all. Her best strategy is to pretend there is no election. Because there's nothing for her to run on. She has absolutely done nothing in 6 years. She has no plan for the next 6. Her strategy is to ignore the election and hope that Californians just kind of forget. That's her strategy.
Hammer her on her Woodrow Wilson vote.
Elizabeth Emken is with us. She's running for the Senate against Dianne Feinstein. Do you have a few minutes to hang around?
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
More coming back.
I see your credentials read the Middle East and China. I want to talk a little bit about foreign relations.
Cool. Good stuff. Stay with us. You are listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show. We have in studio Elizabeth Emken, who's running for the Senate against Dianne Feinstein, and we were talking about how Dianne won't debate. And so I type in, this is how you know when something's big. When you type into Google and it finishes the phrase for you. I type into Google up in the little I'm going to search on it box. I type Dianne Feinstein. I get the W, and it puts up for me won't debate. That's how many people have Googled it, that it helped me along with that. And there are a ton of articles out there, including in the LA Times, talking about how Dianne Feinstein will not debate her opponent, which is pretty interesting.
Let's see. Where is that quote? I'll bet you've got it memorized, don't you, Elizabeth? I've got the article here.
Michael, could we turn our microphone on?
Yeah, that would really aid the interview. Let's see. It doesn't matter. Nothing says entrenched incumbent like. Finish it for me.
Nothing says entrenched incumbent like a long-term senator who won't debate their rival.
Yeah.
And
almost half a century.
And Elizabeth Emken's going to be on John and Ken down in SoCal today on KFI, friends of ours, and that's cool. So you're getting some attention.
Absolutely.
But Dianne Feinstein won't debate you. Well, that's interesting because when she was on all the talk shows here a couple of weeks back, remember the big New York Times leaks story, and she's on the Intelligence Committee, and she's going to crack down on that, investigate. That's the first time I'd ever really thought she's starting to sound like an old person who can't quite, finish her thoughts or get her sentences out. Mm-hmm. And that might be one reason she doesn't want to debate. I mean, she seemed like she struggled a little bit. It's the first time she'd been on a lot of talk shows in a while.
Exactly right. And frankly, there was 2 different incidents. Actually, there's been 3 this year where she's started talking and saying things and been hauled back. Got the hook
by her staffers,
presumably.
Wow.
and by the White House.
Oh my God, we're way into Strom Thurmond land now.
Oh well, she
with
revealed
all due respect.
She revealed the presence of the Mossad chief Tamir Pardo, who was here in January for secret meetings with the CIA, and she mentioned it offhandedly in a committee meeting. We never did find out if it was an intentional comment or if it was just whoops. And then you saw twice, once in June and once in July. She was talking about leaks on remember the worm in the Iranian computer system?
Right, yeah.
She one time referred to the White House as needing to tamp down their security. But if you go back and you look at that, she was the one who was sitting around talking to the New York Times, David Sanger, who actually wrote that article. And they put her back in I don't know where they put her, but they took her back off, took the microphone away then too.
I think she won't debate because she can't debate anymore.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, honestly, what in the world would she say about her record? She has literally done nothing. You know what's really amazing to me? Here we are struggling in California. We have huge problems with water. One of the things that's really made an impression on me is just seeing what's going on in the Central Valley. People have been screaming for water. She hasn't done anything, and she had the opportunity to do it. The federal government did an $850 billion stimulus, which included infrastructure programs. Where was Dianne Feinstein? That's one of my questions for her. Where were you? We've had water projects that have been on the drafting board for decades. And, apparently Barack Obama and company were putting out sacks of cash on the streets of Washington. Where were you?
Elizabeth Emken is with us. In case you're just tuning in, Elizabeth graduated from UCLA, degrees in economics, political science, Middle East and China studies at Cambridge. And then, for God's sake, for those of you who are just completely unable to grasp when someone is qualified, she worked as an efficiency and cost-cutting expert for IBM. Oh, Lord, send us a candidate.
Yeah, efficiency and cost-cutting, a handy skill in these days? I don't know.
And is a tireless advocate for children with disabilities. I hate to even get off on issues stuff because I'm just so mad about the dysfunction of the Republic, and I want to talk about that. But issues stuff. How much of a role does a senator really have in foreign relations, say, the Middle East and China, your areas of
You got
specialty?
It. You just nailed it on the head. You mentioned a few minutes ago about what do we actually lose with Dianne Feinstein being the chair of Senate Intelligence. Well, we could all pause on that for a minute, can't we? Senate Intelligence and Dianne Feinstein. You're exactly right. We have the State Department, we have the CIA. Dianne Feinstein clearly has nothing to add. She was out there the day after the terrorist attack on the Libyan consulate, saying it was a mob action. Now, lots of people did that. But a couple of days ago, it was still on her website. It's not as if she updated it. She was still calling it a mob action as of a few days ago.
It's the nature of the Senate to a certain extent, isn't it? I mean, a lot of the chairmanships have been filled by people too old and out of touch for years and years and years.
Well, that's what I would ask Californians. We're at the bottom of every economic measure. We have one of the worst unemployments. We have the housing bust. Our poverty levels going up. We have the worst credit rating in the country. Investors Business Daily says we're the worst state in the country to do business in.
I say we stay the course. Things are going great.
Why change horses in midstream?
Elizabeth, you made a great comment during the commercials, which I told you was against the rules, but about the sort of politicians we have these days.
Yeah, there's really two kinds. You've got career politicians who, start off and kind of work their way up through the ranks. And I cannot even imagine what they owe the special interests. And some of them are good, but for the most part, they go to Washington a little bit jaded. Mm-hmm. Or we have those who can write $5 to $10 million checks to get back there. Now, look, maybe some of them are good too. But if we don't kind of redefine what it is to be a legitimate and a credible candidate, someone with a record of accomplishment, and I can point to a very specific record of accomplishment. I did the Children's Health Act of 2000 when all the smart guys said you'll never get a health bill out. Then I did the Combating Autism Act. The really smart guys said you'll never be able to accomplish it. But you know why I got that done? I put in accountability mechanisms. I required a strategic plan. I required a report to Congress, and I put in sunset provisions. I'm going to go back there and make sure that our federal authorizing language requires these federal agencies to be accountable. Congress is shirking their duties, and it's why we have the $16 trillion debt.
I think it's horrifying that the American voter seems nervous about the idea of someone being in our legislatures, including the horrifyingly dysfunctional one in California. They're nervous about somebody without, quote, experience. The idea of a citizen legislator, a person with real life experience, with a family, with a business, with experience as a citizen, that's somehow a disqualification as opposed to the best qualification. I think we've gotten way off. I don't know how to fix it other than talking about it, but it's a scary thing.
Yeah, and look, we've got to get away from, if you can't write a $5 to $10 million check, then you're out.
Right.
Look, I spent 15 years in the nonprofit world. Clearly, you want to rethink that if you want to run for a statewide office, but that's the reality. But look, I've got, I understand what California families are going through. I have a mortgage. My husband and I work for a living. I've got 3 kids in school. Dianne Feinstein doesn't effectively live in California anymore. She lives next to Andrea Mitchell in Washington, D.C.
That's great. That's a great line right there.
Yeah, the 6 of the 7 fastest growing, highest income counties in America, right there. Right next to Washington, D.C., our only growth industry.
I don't know that I'm specifically a term limits guy, but certainly you live in Washington, D.C. long enough. I mean, what connection do you have to the real world and to California when you've been in Washington, D.C. that long?
She's not even attempting to see the people. She's off right now. By the way, you're paying for her to be off for 42 days to campaign. She's not seeing the people. She's not providing a debate. You're paying for it.
Very nice. Elizabeth Emken is running for Senate against Dianne Feinstein, beat 22 other candidates, and I think you can hear why in the open primary.
We should at least be able to demand a debate between the two of you. I mean, that's not...
Can you do that? That would be really great.
That's not asking too much. That's not crazy right-wing stuff or anything. That the Republican candidate... Okay, she doesn't want to debate, 15 people on a stage or whatever. But have the Republican candidate on stage for an hour, one debate. I mean, that's not too much to ask.
Yeah, we got to beat that drum.
I'm sure John and Ken are going to.
Yeah, let's start beating it. I think, talk radio is going to be your great ally. And I think in the name just of the country... In the name of the republic, we need to drag these long time incumbents out of their hidey holes and expose them to the voters. So,
exactly.
In the next couple of weeks, let's be in touch. I mean, because even if I wasn't as impressed as I was with you, the idea of this unfolding the way it is disgusting to me. So,
and you would have a lot of fun with it.
You look exactly like a U.S. senator.
Thank you.
I mean, reconstructive surgery.
And then in the modern world, we all know that's important. I mean, but you look like a U.S. senator. You just look like one. So, I mean, clearly that's got to happen.
Went to the trouble of wearing the navy blue suit and everything.
I put on my big girl clothes for you, even though it's radio. Even though it's radio.
Very much. Elizabeth Emken, everybody. We're going to have a big, fat, unmissable link to Elizabeth's website, information, etc. at ArmstrongandGettyRadio.com. Emken for Senate?
It's Emken2012.com, EMKEN 2012.com. There's only 2 names on the ballot.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Tell John and Ken, hey, when you see him this afternoon.
I will do that.
Let's see if we can
thank you. Thanks for getting that debate out for me. We've got to get it done.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see if we can get a debate to happen somehow.
Yeah, let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
And, definitely stay in touch. We want to hear more from you. Stay with us. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show. Joe, you weren't in the room. Vince, I need you to be the judge. I kicked Dominic out of the studio.
Yes.
For talking to the senatorial candidate Was that appropriate or not?
Completely appropriate.
Dominic comes in doing his full-on I'm Dominic routine.
Oh, Lord, no.
With Elizabeth Emken.
No.
And I had to send him
He didn't go with his deliberately, ridiculously provocative question
Oh,
thing.
absolutely.
Oh, no.
Absolutely. Right off the bat.
What I was trying to do is I didn't want her talking to you during the break because all the good stuff come out, so I was trying to divert her attention.
Oh, yeah, well, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Ask about the weather, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a Niners fan? How about that?
Okay.
How was your flight?
Exactly. How was your trip? I was just going to say that.
But she was hot. She was hot.
Jeez Louise. No, I tell you what. If you're just tuning in, go to the damn podcast and listen to the 2 segments we do with Elizabeth Emken and decide whether you're merely going to vote for her, you're going to volunteer for her, you're going to volunteer and contribute and march and call Dianne Feinstein 15 times a day for the next 6 weeks. 6 weeks? 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and demand
2.5.
Demand that she come out of her hidey hole and engage in the democratic process. God, we got kings and queens in this country anymore. It's disgusting.
You're right about that, Dominic.
About what?
She's hot.
Oh. She's a lovely woman. She's hot as disrespectful.
She looks like if you're going to have a senator on the West Wing, you'd choose her.
Yeah.
I tell you what. Yeah,
on TV.
I'm so much deeper than the rest of you.
Yes, you
which
are.
is frequently uncomfortable for me. But I mean, her education, her experience raising a disabled kid, her work in the private sector as a cost-cutting expert. Oh my God! Speaking of, she looks like a senator. Yeah, straight out of Central Casting. But her qualifications. Just unbelievable.
But even if you're a lifelong Democrat and you're going to vote for Dianne Feinstein, you are, you've got to think it's a good idea that the 2 candidates debate at least once. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I tell you what, listen, seriously, as a conservative, I don't care if my favorite guy in the world was in office. They have got to get out and compare ideas with their opponents. Otherwise, we're doomed as a country.
Especially when you're 80 and there's rumors that you may not have it anymore.
Yeah. You know what? I tell you what, what's her campaign guy? Here's your poster. Robert Byrd at his oldest. Strom Thurmond at his oldest. Dianne Feinstein.
You get one of those like they do in People magazine or whatever, where you get a picture of her like she just sneezed or something. So she looks like she's barely...
Yeah, TMZ, The Inquirer.
What's the caption, though? What's the caption?
Barbaric.
Out to pasture time. I'm not sure.
Something like that.
Something like that. I'm still working on that. Marshall?
Let's get the news now.